This game was over a long time ago. Kyler Murray, a deep shot, got a man and it's caught. How about 80 yards to the house, just like that? Flip it to Christian Kirk, got the angle and got the touchdown for the Cardinals.
You know, it was a great Monday night victory for us. Defense played well, offense played well. Can't ask for much more.
What else is there to say? Steve Levy on ESPN's Monday Night Football there
really
at the
dropped
top.
that on him right there, though.
If you're watching on ESPN News, the beautiful touchdown pass from Kyler Murray to Christian Kirk. Kyler, the star of the Arizona Cardinals. Christian Kirk grew up in Arizona. They are now there together. Key shooting a couple shots, getting the front rim to go in on the garbage can. He's multitasking. He's talking Dodgers. He's talking NFL. He's shooting. He's doing it all. He's still gaga over his Lakers.
Yeah, well, Lakers will be fine. I'm moving on to the Dodgers. We're moving on, as Belichick would say. We're more concerned with the Rays tonight. That's my mission.
Right. We're not moving on to the Cincinnati Reds. We're moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays. Tonight, 7:30 Eastern, first pitch on ESPN Radio. The commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred, will join us at 9:30. The Astros have reared their ugly heads again. We'll talk about that and everything about the Fall Classic and what happens next season. There's so much to get into with the commission at 9:30. He'll be on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We'd like to welcome you back to Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin, coming to you live from the Seaport District at Pier 17, and we are brought to you by Chase. We're also asking you guys, our Twitter nation, who deserves more blame from the Cowboys' struggles, the owner or the guy that he hired, Jerry Jones or first-year head coach Mike McCarthy?
Let me guess.
Go ahead.
They're going to say Jerry.
They are, by an overwhelming margin.
Yeah.
68% of you have said Jerry, including @comedian_watch. He hit us up on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed and said, quote, Jerry Jones, it's his mess on the field. I don't like McCarthy or Garrett, but it's just not coaching. Boy, poor Jason Garrett, he just still can't get away from it. He's not even there anymore.
Yeah, he was there for a long time. And
Yeah,
they
was.
didn't win the way that they thought they were supposed to win.
And by the way, Jason Garrett never got off to the start that Mike McCarthy did. Granted, it's his first year. McCarthy's a Super Bowl winner. Cowboys started 1-3. Jason
It's a bad
Garrett
look, though, man.
has never been 1-3.
Yeah, but that stuff last night was unwatchable.
Stink is the word.
It really was
the stench.
It was bad. And for all of the Kyler Murray stuff that I talk about, I like Kyler Murray as a player.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. I just don't like long-term success with that offense in the NFL to win a Super Bowl, to get deep run in the playoffs. But watching him last night is fun. Just watching him run around and stuff like that is as I would say, it's cute. I like it because it's just like, he's smaller than everybody out there. He's just like, bam, 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 move out the way. And they can't catch him. It's just, it's fun to watch, especially when he pulls the ball down and lets that thing fly in the air. When he dropped that on Christian Kirk, that thing when it left his wrist, I knew it was 6 just by how he cocked and delivered. I'm like, oh yeah, he got somebody. Then they panned to Christian Kirk. I'm like, oh, that's 6. It's over.
And it was over to the tune of a 28-point defeat, the worst loss they've ever had at AT&T Stadium. By the way, just a fun little note that Kyler Murray, there's something about that stadium. He was a Texas high school football legend, 42-0 as a starter, one of the greatest prep athletes to ever come out of the state, because you got to remember he's also a stud in baseball that was drafted by the Oakland Athletics in the first round. So he was 6-0. That's when you know you're big in high school football. You're playing playoff games at the home of the Dallas Cowboys. He was 6-0 in high school at that stadium, and then now he added to it on the biggest stage he's ever been on. Last note on the Cardinals, you got to throw it out there for sure. They hired Cliff Kingsbury right out of Key's alma mater, USC. He hadn't even moved into his apartment yet. They got him out of there. They dumped Josh Rosen for the second time in as many years. They drafted a quarterback in the top 10, and this time it's got to work.
Well, not top 10. They took a quarterback number 1 overall.
Top 1, right. Rosen was at 10, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously Murray at 1. So right now, the Arizona Cardinals are not leading their division. The Seattle Seahawks are. But let's reel or not real. Essentially, let's run through all 8 division leaders as we get closer to the midway point of the season. And Key will tell you, are they real or not real with regards to doing what all 32 want to do when the season starts? Win the whole thing. Are they legit right now or not? Let's start in the NFC East with the Cowboys sitting at 2-4, high on the hog, on top of the NFC East. This is pretty easy, right?
No, we're talking about real as far as getting to the Super Bowl, not just winning their division. If they won the division and they got into the playoffs, they backdoored it to the playoffs. Whoever wins that division backdoored in the playoffs, they don't have a chance. They're going to get bounced in the first round and keep it moving.
Can you believe whoever wins the division, obviously the Giants and the Eagles just one pace back, which is unbelievable, is going to host a playoff game.
How many games is Washington back? Because Washington feel like they still in it too.
Remember, they beat the Eagles in week 1, so they got their one victory. They are on the board with their one win, but one of those teams is going to host a playoff game no matter what.
What if the Giants just get fake hot, meaning like they win 6 games this year and a 6-10 team win the division, or a 7-9 team win that division, and they stack up and the Giants were the team to win the division?
I think about it from a tiebreaker perspective. You get to a point where either the Giants or Eagles win this week to pick up their second win, and then Dallas loses to the Washington football team. Suddenly Dallas is out of first place, and one of those two pathetic teams is in first place. Speaking of pathetic, everybody's, the Bears. Now, come on, man. They're not legit. They're 3-0. They're not legit. They're 4-1. They're not legit. Key, they're 5-1.
They are legit. And I learned my lesson from last year, San Francisco 49ers, every week. The best players he left those guys down in Atlanta, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and they're down in Atlanta. And every week, the Niners just win, win, win. This is Chicago, the portable recipe. Play defense. Nick Foles, don't turn it over, don't cost us. Every now and then we ask you to make a big throw to Allen Robinson, 1 or 2 a game. That's all we need. 1 to a tight end, maybe a check down to a back. And we're going to come get you on defense, and we're going to keep stacking up the wins, keep stacking up the wins, keep stacking up the wins. And then we look up, and then the weather starts to turn. We get people in here. We have some sort of home field. Now, all of a sudden, and that's how you win. That's how they won with Lovie Smith when they got to the Super Bowl.
No doubt about it.
Rex Grossman was the damn quarterback, man.
Yes, unfortunately for them, Peyton Manning was the other quarterback. And when that's the matchup, that's how it's going to go. Key referencing when talking about the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, leaving Julio, like you mentioned, to go to San Francisco and slowly build that team into who they are. One of Key's old teams, the Bucs, are leading the NFC South.
Yeah, they are for real. They're for real, and they're going to make a strong push with New Orleans to win that division. And when they win the division, they'll make a strong push because Tom Brady knows how to win in the playoffs. And so when you look at Bruce Arians, you look at Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich from a coaching standpoint, they kind of now are starting to settle in to what this team is. This team is not about Tom Brady as much as it is about playing defense, running the football, and allowing Tom Brady to do similar to what I just said about the Chicago Bears, which is, we know you're not going to make a mistake. We're not worried about you throwing 30 interceptions. That's the least of our worries. We need you to make a few big throws. We're going to get the ball back for you on defense. We're going to cut the field down in half so you don't have to go the length of the field. We're going to give you a short field as many times as possible. You just do your part. We'll play defense, we'll run the ball, and we'll keep stacking up wins.
Yes, his predecessor was known indeed for throwing 30 interceptions. For the first time ever, the Seattle Seahawks are 5-0, which makes this one easy, I assume.
Yeah, of course. They every single year, they're a part of what we call the NFC champions. And they're always in the mix, no matter what their record is. They're just, for whatever reason, Pete Carroll led team along with Russell Wilson, they're going to always hang around to the end. And this is no different than last year, the year before. This is a team that certainly could make a strong run at getting to the Super Bowl by far. I know the 12th man is not in attendance this year, but when you go up to Seattle, it's a very tough place to play because as the weather starts to turn and the rain starts to come down, which it does pretty much 365 days a year, that's an advantage to them. Them playing at home is an advantage.
And I got to say, they may not have the 12th man, but the 55 men on the roster have proven to be pretty darn good this year. So that's the deal in the NFC. Let's run through the AFC, which has been dominated, of course, as you know, by the Patriots for 11 straight years. But here we are. For the first time since 2001, through 5 games, the Pats are under 500. How long ago was that? That was old Tom Brady's first year as a starter in New England. The Bills are on top of the division. They're 4-2, but Key, they've lost their 2 games in the last 6 days.
You know, I feel like the Buffalo Bills started to get a lot of praise. Josh Allen started to get a lot of hype, MVP hype. Talked about those sort of things because he was doing something very similar to what Ryan Tannehill was doing. The difference is Ryan Tannehill's not turning the ball over. On the other side, Allen is turning the ball over. And so it's costing his team at crucial moments. That's why they've lost these last couple games. And when you look at the last 2 games, I think he's thrown 3 interceptions in the last 2 games. So that's a little bit of a problem. They've got to kind of rein that in some. when you talk about this division, I think New England is more, for me, more of a contender and a true contender once they get Cam back going again and on board the way that he was prior to the COVID situation. I think the New England Patriots will run away with the division. I didn't feel that way before, but now I do.
As Key has said, and I think this is a pretty safe statement, I'm just going to trust